Hi everybody, welcome to my homestead and welcome to my channel. In this video, we're going to go over this article here in the Church News. There's a survey that was just put out, and it reveals how Latter-day Saints and Jews fare compared to other religions in regards to how they feel about their communities. If you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe, like this video. If you end up liking it, hit the notification bell, leave your comments if you have any additional thoughts or information or impressions. And let's just go ahead and get into it. So, what a national survey reveals about Latter-day Saints and their communities. This is actually really quite interesting, I would say. So I wanted to hit on this. I wanted to do it when I first saw it, but I wasn't able to, so I'm just now getting to it. I think it's worth going back and reviewing and showing you guys. All right, so members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints have far deeper feelings of community, trust, and connection than other religious groups, according to a recent American Enterprise Institute national survey on community satisfaction, safety, and trust. Okay, so that's already kind of interesting right there. Okay, this is kind of like the overview of what we're about to go through. And the angle, or the way in which I view this is, I think it's because our church, it is the true church for one, but as such, we are striving to create Zion. And what is Zion? Zion is the pure in heart, but it's also the one in heart and one in mind. So therefore, I guess you could say what we're striving to do and what we're striving to be is community fish, right? We're not trying to be isolated. We're not trying to be antagonistic toward others. We're trying to include everyone. We're trying to make sure that we live in good communities, and that there's harmony. Right. So let's move on. 72% of Latter-day Saints say they feel at least somewhat connected to their community. I don't know about you, but I find that to be a pretty high number. I honestly don't know what I would have guessed, but it kind of surprises me, 72%. Also, Latter-day Saints are far more likely than other religious groups to believe their neighbors are willing to help in times of trouble. So I'm guessing other religious groups, they're less trusting of their neighbors, or they have a dimmer view of their neighbors' willingness to help. So maybe, I don't know, maybe Latter-day Saints, we are more likely to give other people the benefit of a doubt and see the good in them and have that hope. So that's kind of interesting. Okay, this is Daniel Cox talking. What we see in the survey is that Latter-day Saints demonstrate a remarkable degree of social cohesion. I guess another way that you could say that, and the way that I look at this, is what we see in the survey is that Latter-day Saints demonstrate a remarkable degree of Zion, says Cox. Just all you got to do is, so many times, all you got to do is replace certain key phrases with Zion, and it totally makes sense. Especially when in church talks they're talking about heart, or coming to a unanimous decision, like when you're talking about councils, and so forth. So yeah, Zion, I think. This is a good sign. This is a really good sign for us. Adding that it's exceedingly difficult to find a Latter-day Saint who has no close connection to someone who shares his or her faith. The survey shows that 90% of church members say they have not just acquaintances, but very close friends within their own faith community. And I mean, that probably comes as no surprise to any of us, but when you look at it like this, when you're comparing it to other religions, it really stands out. 90%, that's super high. And yeah, I fit in that category. I definitely have close friends within my own faith community. I think, well, almost everybody does. I wish it was 100%, That's where we got to do that additional work and reach out to others that maybe don't feel close to others in the church. Just think about those in your ward, and those that you know that are members of the church, and maybe you reach out to them. Let's try and get that to 100%. Okay, so more than half of Latter-day Saints spend time at least once a week with fellow church members outside of formal worship services. So what I don't know here is, are they talking about just Sunday services? Like, is that what they're talking about when they say worship services? Are they including, um, the weekly activities like young women's, young men's, Relief Society, Elders Quorum gatherings? I don't know. I don't know. Um, so this wouldn't be too surprising to me, but uh, you know, we actually do quite a bit with people in our ward. So, and it is kind of, I mean, it feels like, at least for me and my family, yeah, at least once a week we come across somebody or spend time with somebody. So, anyway, outside of those activities, right? Um, anyway, quote. You don't actually see that to this degree across a lot of other religious traditions, so that's remarkable, said Cox. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so now here's a chart here. I got like a larger version over here. Latter-day Saints express the strongest connection to their communities. Just take a look at that. That is visually striking. Um, and then look at this. So we're number one. We're number one. We're number one, and then coming in at number two is the Jewish community, the Jewish faith. Isn't that interesting, you guys? Isn't that interesting that the top two? I guess another way you could look at this is the Southern Kingdom and the Northern Kingdom leading the way as far as becoming Zion. Right here, this dark yellow, that's not close at all, and it basically corresponds with the very close and somewhat close, just inverse. As this goes up, this goes down. As this goes up, this starts to go down on this side. So the groups here in this chart, we got Latter-day Saints at the top, and then Jewish, and then white evangelical Protestant, and then white Catholic, and then white mainline Protestant, followed by Black Protestant, followed by Hispanic Catholic, and then at the very bottom, unaffiliated. So very, 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 very interesting. Um, Such social engagement among Latter-day Saints is often facilitated by those living relatively close to their places of worship. So our wards, right? They're talking about the ward structure and the way that the church is structured. Quote, we found that more than 2/3, 68%, are within a 10-minute drive, unless you live in Kansas. And no, there's some, no, that's not true. Up in Wichita, they're obviously a lot closer. There's more wards over there, but uh, whatever. Let's just continue on. Are within a 10-minute drive, and that 1 in 3 can even walk there, he said. Again, that's much more than any other religious tradition. Much more. Back when we lived in Phoenix, we lived in a suburb called Goodyear, and we were able to walk to our church. We didn't, but we could, but we didn't. Okay. So Cox also underscored how well Latter-day Saints know their neighbors. Beyond just names and occupations, he pointed to a survey question asking respondents if they knew the politics of their neighbors. Now this is interesting, and I guess it makes sense when I think about myself, because I'd say that I do. What about you guys? Quote, a lot of people rightfully and understandably don't know the whole politics of the people who live around them, but Latter-day Saints, 90%, said that they knew the political leanings of the people who live in their neighborhoods, he said, adding that as many as a quarter to a third of those in other religious groups can't say the same. Now, that might be skewed a bit because of Utah, but there's a lot of Saints that live outside of Utah. So I'd like to see what that number would be outside of Utah, outside of Idaho. But yeah, that's still pretty interesting. And I'd say that I've carried that trait with me from Utah here to Kansas, because I feel like yeah, when I think about it, I pretty much know. I do. I know how my neighbors think. We've talked about it. Okay. Across religious traditions, Americans reporting higher levels of religious participation feel more attached to their communities and the people in them, with 58% of adults who are members of a local worship organization feeling close to their neighborhoods, compared to 46% for those who are not members. Similarly, Americans who attend religious services at least once a week acknowledge greater neighborhood attachment than those who never attend, 62% to 40%. That's interesting because don't we always watch in movies and in TV shows that religious people, they're so stuck up and they want to be exclusive and they're holier than thou and you don't belong in church. Re Religious Americans, they're supposed to be the ones that are always the Karens, right? Which I hate that phrase or that name. The way what it's turned into, because there's people out there with the name of Karen and their name is being used as a slur for basically narcissistic people, for narcissistic women. And it's spread to, I've heard Ken or I've heard Darren as the male version of that. I think that we should just use the word, either the phrase toxic person or narcissist or something along those lines. I don't think it's fair to the Karens out there, but um, that's what they would have you believe, that if you're religious, oh, you don't feel close to your community, and uh, you hate everybody that's that lives in your neighborhood, and everyone's doing everything wrong. Um, well, it doesn't seem like this survey really supports that idea, and I think that there's an agenda behind that, portraying religious people as bad, as oh they don't really. I mean, you've seen the meme, right? You've seen the meme where it's like sometimes the kindest people that you meet, or the uh, I think it's like the kindest people you'll meet, or the most non-judgmental people you'll meet are covered in tattoos, and sometimes the most judgmental people go to church. It's like something like that. It's like that stupid wordplay where for those that don't really think, they just kind of like are swayed by catchy phrases like that. Um, it's like meant to sway their opinion, and that's not true. It's not true. That's like some of that trickery that's out there. Some people probably do have that genuine belief, but I don't think that's the case at all. I don't. I think there's agendas and things that are pushed in the mainstream and within our movies, our TV shows, our commercials, our books, our pop culture everywhere. Um, but I don't think that it's true. Overall, the national survey of 5,058 adults across the United States show pandemic-prompted economic and social disruptions in cities across the country, with a majority of Americans preferring life in the suburbs and rural areas, opting for personal space over more amenities offered in urban neighborhoods. Yeah, absolutely. Um, they keep saying actually that there's been a shift in that more people are starting to leave the country and they're starting to come to the cities, and that's based on some kind of study. I didn't plan on talking about that here, but um, I don't know if that's true. I mean, maybe that's true, but I also feel like there's just like no end of YouTube channels where you have people that have moved out of the city and started homesteads and little family farms. I feel like that's a trend, but I don't know. But it says here that the majority of Americans prefer living in suburbs and rural areas. I guess in that other report or that other study, they would probably clump in suburbs with cities and urban areas because, suburb. Um, but anyway, hey, I would encourage you to move out to the country, frankly. I think you'll be happier. It is nice having the space. Um, it's cheaper to buy homes, especially here in the Midwest. Just take a look at Zillow, look at Kansas, look at Missouri, look at Arkansas, look at Texas, look at Iowa, Nebraska. You're going to be probably shocked by what you find if you're someone that lives in the West. Like anywhere west of Kansas, you're going to be like, what the heck? What could I have if I just move to the Midwest? I would highly encourage you that you check that out. Okay. We're pretty much at the end here, just this last part. In a section titled Community Leaders, the AEI survey asked respondents if they personally know someone in their communities who will take on an informal role coordinating activities and events and connecting people in the neighborhood. Overall, 37% said they did, while 63% said they did not. The survey report acknowledged that few differences from that response were evident across religious traditions, with the exceptions of those of the Latter-day Saint and Jewish faiths, who, quote, are unique among religious Americans in their connections to community leaders. A majority of both 58% of the Latter-day Saints and 53% of the Jewish participants say they personally know someone who is engaged in organizing social activities and events in the neighborhood. That stands out. That's different from this right here. So there's like something almost like a connection, which shouldn't be a surprise to anyone that's a member of the church. There seems to be some kind of connection here between the church and Jews, the way that they interact and interface with their community. So that's the end of the article. I'll, just like every other video, I'll put the link down in the description below if you want to read the whole thing. But the main takeaways from this, I think, is that the church is probably, in the Lord's eyes, doing a pretty good job at being a Zion people, and not just within the church, but with those around them. And it seems like the Jews are just right there, just right behind us. So yeah, all right. So if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. Like this video if you liked it, hit the notification bell, leave your comments, share this with anyone that you think would find this interesting, and I'll talk to you guys later.